and welcome to Bigger Possibilities, a podcast from Schultz and Williams, where we explore what's possible for nonprofit organizations and the world through leadership, purpose, and progress. I'm Renee Archawski. I'm a vice president here at Schultz and Williams, and I am delighted to be joined by my friend and colleague in the field, Corinne O'Connell, the CEO of Habitat for Humanity Philadelphia. Welcome, Corinne, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It really is an honor to spend the time.
Excellent. Well, I feel like I always like to begin at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your leadership journey and what, influenced you and caused you to dedicate your life to community impact.
Begin at the beginning. I like that. So I'm a Philly kid. I grew up, went to St. Joe's here in Philadelphia. So Philadelphia sort of has been in my DNA. But in the space of sort of how or why, or, I'd like to say there was some, lightning bolts of, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up.
Right.
But no, I give a lot of credit to the Sisters of Mercy. I went to a Mercy high school. And I give a lot of credit to the Jesuits, but I give most of the credit to my parents, right? In the family I was raised in, and sort of in the DNA of who we were as a family, to be of service or in service. But I finished out of St. Joe's and I took a job in the corporate world, and I was there about a year, and it just was like, this just, and somebody knew somebody at Project Home. And so I took the job as the volunteer coordinator at Project Home in 1998. Project Home was a much smaller, right? I was there and helped them celebrate their 10-year anniversary.
Wow.
But I would say that was really to take the job. I think it was for $16,500 a year.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
I remember when I went into the partner at the firm where I was working to say, hey, I'm going to take this job. And he was like, one, that's crazy. And two, that's admirable.
Yeah. That about sums it up, right?
But it was that, early, and I was young and lived in an apartment with, I didn't have a whole lot of expenses.
Right.
But that opportunity working so closely when Project Home was so much smaller with Sister Mary and Joan McConnon, the founders, really, I was there 5 years and I got such great hands-on experience, but also just sort of rocked my sheltered little world of, the number of folks experiencing housing insecurity. And that there are solutions and we can solve for that problem. And then the other side of that, Renee, is getting to witness philanthropy in that space of people who want to be part of the solution. Made an incredible impression upon me. And I'd say it was there that it was like, housing just is the piece. Like, if we don't have housing, none of it works.
Yeah.
So that's a really condensed way to say of how did you begin at the beginning? Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. So you learned and saw a lot under two amazing women leaders with Sister Mary Scullion, who's an icon really in Philadelphia and in the nation.
Nationally, yeah.
Yeah, she really, really is. What was one thing you took away from her leadership that influenced your leadership?
Mary and Joan, just human-centered, right? Really struck by, residents weren't clients, they were residents.
Yeah.
There were residents who were on the board at Project Home.
Yeah.
That has stayed with me, and, parlayed forward. We have had a commitment of, on our board here at Habitat Philadelphia, there are people with lived Habitat experience, right? Because you need that voice, you need that lived experience that helps inform decisions, help inform strategy decisions. So keeping sort of the human at the center.
Yeah, it seems so simple, but oftentimes
Overlooked.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned human-centered, and I can't think of another organization more human-centered than Habitat for Humanity, which has human right in its, right in its name.
Yeah.
It's in your name, right? Um, Tell me about how you then found your way to Habitat from Project Home.
Well, I took a little junket and went to the West Coast.
There you go. Okay.
I went to the West Coast. I worked for a nonprofit there,
Ah,
housing nonprofit. I
okay.
worked at the YWCA in
Sure.
Seattle, Washington for 5 years. And talk about an amazing opportunity. I
Wow.
came in on the tail ends of a $30 million capital campaign.
Wow.
It was an all women's board. And so to come from East Coast Philadelphia philanthropy out to
Right.
West Coast Seattle, like mind blowing.
Yeah. Different philanthropy, right? Regionally.
Different
Wow.
philanthropy.
Interesting.
But another amazing opportunity, right, to be in relationship across the table from somebody who might have been hired number 10 at Microsoft or number 6 at,
Wow.
and it was women. This campaign was driven by women and the power of the purse like that. It was so informative and so exhilarating. And that was back in 2005, 2006, I mean, a
Yeah.
long time ago. So to sort of be on this leading edge of women in philanthropy.
Sure.
But it was while I was out there that the job opened back here. And we have all joked that it was my mother's prayers, right? Like she didn't want a kiddo living on the West Coast.
Yes. Yes.
So I took the job back at Habitat in
It's great.
2009 and drove back kind of sight unseen. I knew Habitat. I mean, everybody
Sure.
knows Habitat.
Sure.
But I took the job in 2009 as the director of development. We were much tinier. We were about a staff of 7.
Wow.
We were building 1, 2, maybe 3 homes a year. But bringing it to our theme of your podcast of bigger possibilities.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
I
there was,
know.
there was opportunity there.
Opportunity. Sure. Gosh. Well, that obviously the organization has come such a long way. Tell us a little bit about where Habitat is today, right? I know we've had a chance to work together, and it was just remarkable to hear, how many transformational projects you've done. Tell us about, one of them or one that you recently completed.
It's powerful to be part of a global enterprise, right?
Yeah.
And leading an organization, when you say I work at Habitat for Humanity, people know who we are. We are set essentially like a franchise. We're each our own
Right.
individual.
Right.
It's a federated model.
Yeah.
Here at Habitat Philadelphia, we have built 285 homes, so empowered 285 first-time home buyers to buy.
Wow.
Something that just is exhilarating and motivating. About 10 families a year complete their mortgage, like pay it off, own their home outright, which
Wow.
is amazing.
So amazing.
We started 15 years ago here at Habitat Philadelphia an owner-occupied repair program.
Mm-hmm.
So it started as a little pilot of let's see what this is like. And I would also add, Renee, to that story. Neighbors, when we were coming onto a block to build a new home or build, a couple new homes, neighbors were thrilled that we were there, but they were asking us, could you help fix
Yes.
my porch? Could you fix,
Yes.
my basement? Could you?
Sure.
And so we were saying, we know how to do that, but we don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really right again that like human centered. It was neighbors inviting us
Right.
in, and our staff pushed to say we got to try this. So it was a pilot in the first year, and I think we did 17 or 18 repairs in that first year. We're finishing this fiscal year, June 30. Our goal this year was to complete 200. We surpassed 200.
amazing.
Average repair now for us is in the $25,000 range.
Wow.
In a space of it is the cost effective way to scale affordable housing. We have the housing stock
Yes.
falling down around folks.
Right.
So we go in, right, fix the roof, fix the heater, fix the basement steps, empower families who have lived on blocks for decades to stay in their home to leverage that equity that they've built in owning that home. So that program, it has been a team effort the whole way. And I checked earlier, we've repaired 1,303 homes in Philadelphia.
Oh my gosh, that's remarkable. And I don't know that everybody knows that Habitat does the critical repairs. Were you the first ones to do that around the country, or were there other Habitat affiliates doing that model?
We're certainly on the leading edge in the Habitat space, and we continue to be on that leading edge in the affiliate network. Yeah, I'm proud of. I mean, again, given the housing stock we have in Philadelphia. And the need, we have a high home ownership rate in the city, but it's coupled with this housing stock is old, and we have a low income population. So people need help with the repairs. To make it human, we repaired a home. It was a veteran, and he had been able to a certain age to do the repairs
himself. Right?
Yeah. And then as he's aging, it was just harder and harder. So shut the room, shut the door, shut the this. The heater went. He had actually been chopping firewood for himself to heat the house, right? This is a veteran. Enter Habitat. We do the repairs. He shared with our team, like, he felt proud again and could make eye contact with his neighbor, like to engage with his neighbors again, because he felt like he didn't want his house that way.
Right.
He just was unable to physically do it and didn't have the resources to, to hire someone to do it. So that piece is really powerful. There's the tangible walls and dry roof, but I don't know what price tag you can put to that of someone feeling like their dignity has been restored.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Well, that's what Habitat does so well. But it actually leads me to my next question, because your work feels very urgent, right? And yet systems change at scale could take a really long time. How do you as a leader and just as a person, balance that urgency with the long-term nature of systems change, including, sharing that homeownership is the key to generational wealth? It's not only, keeping people in their homes, it's building that, generational wealth. How do you balance all that?
It's one of the bigger challenges, right? And I would say for most leaders, what's the pace, right? Of like the urgency requires to meet the need and to do it in a sustainable way, and to do it in a way that we're not burning out staff.
Right.
To do it, fiscally soundly. In the almost 30 years, right, that I've been in the housing space, there's clarity right now that changes need to be made in the housing system. So just last night, federal legislation, bipartisan, agreed on both sides. The 21st Century Housing legislation, Road to Housing bill, was approved. This is the first in decades that there's been legislation around housing, recognizing that government, right, federal, state, local, plays a role. How do you accelerate, right, starter homes? How do you create more access to capital, right? Like big system, right? So there's federal legislation. Locally here with our mayor and city council, she's put a stake in the ground to say housing is a priority. And has funded it. The city has funded it with a goal to build and preserve 30,000 units of housing.
Yeah.
So to have leadership at that end,
right?
The solution in affordable housing is not going to be just Habitat.
Right.
It's going to require, like I say all the time, it's an all play. It's got to be government. It's got to be, corporations. It's got to be foundations. It's got to be the nonprofit. It's got to be block captains. It's got to be neighborhood coalitions. Like it's an all play to get there. But to hit the point, or the nail on the head, no pun intended, the average age of the first-time home buyer now in the United States is 40.
So different.
Right? It's so different. Like the system is broken. So
Yeah.
there's not enough starter homes, right, where people can build equity to buy a second home, allowing the next, family to move into that starter home. The gap the affordability gap is enormous.
Yeah.
So enter Habitat,
Right.
right? And that is our work. We work alongside families who do not qualify for a traditional mortgage. They come into our program. We work alongside, that is a core value of ours, right?
Sure.
Working alongside folks, but that they get to the settlement table and they're successful homeowners over the 30 years of that mortgage.
Wow.
So that, right? Yes, build equity. Housing is better health. The housing is better educational outcomes. Housing has better employment. All of the things that is the nonprofit sector as we're trying to solve for. People need a safe, stable place to come home to at night.
Yeah.
To right, like you just took that deep exhale, like,
Yes. I mean, it often, from being, living in Philadelphia, knowing our landscape here in Philly and knowing that it's not unique to just Philadelphia feels both, like systems change can be possible because it's not just one, geography, it's across country, but it also feels overwhelming at the same time. So this legislation that just passed must really feel like a huge, epic kind of win for, for the sector. What other, things, challenges, systems that are still falling short that impact our work you see as kind of the next frontier, the next hurdle for, for Habitat to overcome or collectively
or unlock what's possible.
unlock?
Right?
Exactly.
Well, I want to lift up, and this is both at the affiliate level, but as well as globally, Habitat, we strategically have been investing in advocacy. Right? We traditionally, a volunteer for Habitat has been the hard hat and the hammer, right?
Right.
The mountain work on site.
Yep, for sure.
We have been inviting people in, right? Join the chorus of voices, right? Pick up the phone, text, we can all do it, but building our voices in that advocacy space for smarter policy. So the federal legislation, right, that has been years. We go to DC, both as the, enterprise of Habitat, but again, here locally with our volunteers to consider themselves, right? Like you can swing a hammer, you can write a check, you can also pick up the phone.
Yeah.
So I see that as a continued path forward of what we can continue to grow and build that muscle is in that advocacy space. Because again, we're not going to build our way out of this crisis. There needs to be smarter policies, right? Like let's get upstream.
Sure.
Smarter policies. Zoning as an example. If there's smarter zoning policies that allows for higher density, that allows for accessory dwelling units, all of that starts to unlock the number of units available for people to buy, which will bring down the cost for all of us.
Right. It's exactly right. Which, the advocacy piece is so important, and many organizations, I would say, are kind of on the cusp of that advocacy work. They're not quite yet doing it. Where do you think nonprofit leaders need to be bolder right now, right? Advocacy probably is one of them, but like where else do leaders need to be just bolder?
I can point to an example for us, the recent, and I think most nonprofits leaders can relate to this, right? We have no problem sharing our wins, right? Bragging on,
Sure.
right? Like of just like impact.
Yep.
And we took a risk when we lost federal funding.
Right. Like
We
so
took
many
a risk
organizations, yeah.
to say, right? And it wasn't political. It wasn't this or this.
Right.
It just was like,
It's reality, yeah.
here's the reality. This is it, right? This money is now gone. Here's the impact of the number of homes it was going to repair. And it was an invitation for our donors to step forward.
Sure.
right? So, and that, I mean, it felt risky to say like,
Yeah,
we now have a $2.8 million funding gap. That felt risky to say,
totally.
but to see a response from philanthropy, to step forward to say, we got your back.
Wonderful.
So I think in the space to be really candid, of what those impacts are and what we are witnessing from, the human end user of that impact. And how that just like the growing needs of folks who are on the margins just continues to deepen. So I think there's that collective voice of, the housing sector meets the food sector meets the education sector,
Yes,
how we do work together, but folks on the margins need us, in the rooms we're in to be advocating.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm inspired just hearing you talk about it because I know, firsthand the impact that Habitat has having, worked with you and seeing your team and how much vision and clarity they have around what needs to happen. That said, it's always so hectic when you're trying to achieve these big goals, right? The pace is so fast. What kind of keeps you centered? What piece of advice or something you learned along the way that you just keep coming back to kind of keep you focused, keep you centered?
Renee, there's one that I do, and it usually bubbles up for me when I'm in that frenetic, like,
Yes,
you
yes,
know.
yes. We
And
can
then I
all
think,
relate.
oh gosh, if I'm feeling that, right?
Yeah,
The team is feeling that.
totally.
Um, and it has been 18 months of,
Yeah, yeah,
but I come back to myself of like, what is just the next right thing?
yeah.
And then
Right.
also coaching and cheering and reminding leaders here and team members here, right? Of, we didn't get into this housing crisis overnight,
Right.
and we have families and loved ones, and we get to go home. Like, you know what I mean? We're going to go home,
Yeah.
and we're going to begin again in the morning,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like we will begin again.
Yeah.
But in that space of overwhelm of where to start, or it's also this, or we lost this, or this didn't
Yeah.
happen, or this, right? Of like, okay, take a breath. What is just the next right thing right now?
Right.
Like, how do I just move the ball from
Yeah.
here to here?
Yep.
Because to be in action better than just spinning out, right?
Exactly.
In a future state of what if this happens, and then what if this happens, and then what if this happens?
Like, right.
So trying to catch myself in that future and to say, what's the thing right now?
Yeah. It's so smart. And it actually is, so much change happens in just these series of small moves, right? Instead of sometimes these big sweeping changes that we all want to make and we all wish we can just wave these magic wands.
Yeah. Like back
You
to the
know,
repair program, right? We didn't, it's been incremental. We didn't go from year one at, 17 to 200 in year
right.
two. Take
Right.
us 15 years to get to
Yeah.
200.
Build up.
So
Yeah.
being realistic. I also, with our team, we do set audacious goals. Last year, we finished at 150. To do 50 more this year was big. And I said, great. If we don't, for some reason, get to 200, we could have said the goal was 175, and maybe then we would have gotten to 165. We
Right.
set the goal at 200. We
Yeah.
actually got there, but let's say we'd gotten to 190. Still more than we, thought we could have been, possible. Back to there's that word possible again.
Yes, yes, always bigger possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, we could chat all day, but I do want to wrap up with one kind of quick hit. Something you're still learning. What's something that really kind of you're still eager to learn about, or someone on your team has recently kind of introduced you to that you're like, wow, I need to know about that.
I hope I never stop learning.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? I hope that curiosity, I think, is one of my superpowers.
Yeah,
And I hope that that is something that stays with me, and that I stay open to that, to not be ever in a place where, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I know it all. I am the good fortune of being surrounded by really smart people around me who I learn from every day. And yeah, like what books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to?
Yeah.
What class you take? Like I thankfully love learning. So
It's great.
keep leaning into it.
Awesome. Well, Corinne, thank you so much for joining us here on our podcast, Bigger Possibilities. We certainly learned about your leadership journey today and what's possible and on the horizon for Habitat here in Philly. So thank you for taking time out. And for those of you who aren't yet subscribed to Bigger Possibilities, please do. And we hope you'll join us next time.
Great.
Thank you
so much.
See you, Corinne. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.